Chapter 2, Mishnah 2. The Torah in Devarim chapter 18, verse 3, requires anyone who slaughters an animal to give gifts, the foreleg, jaws, and stomach, to a Kohen. The Mishnah in Chulin, Mishnah 10, chapter 1, teaches that these are given only from chulin, unconsecrated animals, not from korbanos. The Mishnah discusses whether the gifts must be given from a korban that has a permanent blemish that disqualifies it from being offered on the Mizbeach. That question depends on whether the animal developed the blemish before or after it was designated as a korban, as follows. When someone consecrates a pure, unblemished animal that is fit for the Mizbeach, it gains physical sanctity, i.e. the sanctity of a korban. If it later develops a disqualifying blemish, it may no longer be offered on the Mizbeach, but it is still sacred. The blemished korban is redeemed by exchanging it for money. Its sanctity is thereby transferred to the money, which is used to buy a new korban. Even after its redemption, though, some sanctity remains. Therefore, the animal is subject to certain restrictions, as this Mishnah will teach. If, however, the animal developed a blemish first and was then consecrated, it gains only monetary sanctity. The animal does not have the sanctity of a korban, but its monetary value is sacred, meaning that when it is redeemed, the money is holy and must be used to buy a korban. Upon being redeemed, this type of blemished animal loses even its monetary sanctity and becomes chulin in every respect. The Mishnah will deal with an animal that had a permanent blemish when it was consecrated. The next Mishnah will deal with an animal that was unblemished, or had only a temporary blemish when it was consecrated, but developed a permanent blemish later. We now turn to the words of the Mishnah. All korbanos that had a permanent blemish before they were consecrated and after being consecrated were redeemed are treated as ordinary unconsecrated animals, chulin. As such, they are subject to the law of Bechor, that is, if their firstborn is male, it has the status of a Bechor. And the law of the gifts, that is, after slaughtering the animal, the owner must give its foreleg, jaws, and stomach to a Kohen, and upon being redeemed, they leave their consecrated state to enter a completely unconsecrated state, in which they are permitted to be shorn of their wool and put to work, and their offspring and their milk that emerge after their redemption are permitted. Since the korban had a permanent, disqualifying blemish at the time it was consecrated, it gained only monetary sanctity, not physical sanctity. Then, when it was redeemed, it lost even that lower level of sanctity and became completely unconsecrated chulin. As such, it is subject to all the laws of a consecrated animal. One must give its bechor and its gifts to a Kohen. One may shear off its wool, use it for work, and have benefit from its offspring and milk. Having stated laws that apply to this animal after it is redeemed, when it has no sanctity at all, the Mishnah now states laws that apply to it before it is redeemed, when it has monetary sanctity. Someone who slaughters them outside the temple courtyard is exempt from kares, the usual penalty for slaughtering korbanos outside the courtyard, and they do not make a temura, that is, if someone designates another animal to replace the blemished korban, the second animal does not become sacred, and if they die without shechita, they can still be redeemed. All the previous laws are based on the rule that korbanos blemished at the time of their consecration have only monetary sanctity. The Mishnah named two exceptions to this rule. These laws apply to all korbanos except for the bechor and meiser offerings. If a bechor or meiser offering was blemished when it was consecrated, it does not merely have monetary sanctity. It has a reduced level of physical sanctity. Its laws are similar to those of other korbanos that become blemished after they were consecrated and were then redeemed, which are the subject of the next Mishnah.